I fear this is going to be a controversial one. If you buy seated tickets for a gig or a concert, you should be expected to sit down for the majority of the event. Now, there is nuance to this, so let's go through the conversation. Now, I completely understand that standing tickets are usually the first to sell out, and that means that people will end up having to buy seated tickets if they still want to go to the event. But I think one of the key issues in this conversation is the fact that people seem to have very little empathy for anybody else. Now, the majority of people who buy seated tickets aren't buying them because they wanted standing tickets, they're buying them because they probably can't stand for that long. They might be disabled, they might be elderly, they might just be tired. But the key point here is they bought seated tickets so they could go to the event and still enjoy themselves whilst being sat down. People will quite often use the excuse of, oh, well, if you're disabled, go and buy a disabled ticket then. And no, if you've never had to buy a disabled ticket, don't give your opinion on this, you sound like an idiot. The amount of nominated and allocated disabled seating at any event is disproportionately low to the amount of disabled people who actually want to attend the event. This usually means that we end up fighting to purchase disabled tickets because there aren't enough of them for everyone. So you end up with disabled people like myself who maybe have more mobility than somebody who's, say, in a wheelchair, having to buy a seated ticket like everyone else. And these aren't disability allocated seating, so if somebody stands up in front of me, they are ruining my experience. Now, there are a few ways that disabled people often combat this. I will quite often buy tickets that are at the front of a balcony or, to the side so that there's nobody directly in front of me. But that's not always possible. And quite often, it just means that disabled people don't go. We don't go to the concerts, we don't go to the gigs. We miss out. Now, don't get me wrong, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting up and having a boogie every now and then, dancing to your favourite song, having a sing-along, but doing it for the entire event is selfish. And this is where I think it's just the lack of empathy. People go, well, I purchased this ticket so I can do what I want. And it's like, yeah, but everyone else purchased a ticket too. You're just being a dick about it. I mean, just take it all with a bit of grace. If somebody asks you to sit down, just sit down. Like, I don't get it. I don't get where the entitlements come from. It makes you look like a really horrible person.